I want to bring in NBC's Julie Surkin on the Hill. Brendan Buck is a former aide to Speakers Paul Ryan and John Boehner and an MSNBC political analyst. Julie, we just heard, I understand, from the House Freedom Caucus. Where do things stand at this moment?
Well, it's a great question, Chris, because even after we heard from them, I was in that gaggle. It was a little bit confusing what the sticking points and issues actually are. They keep saying over and over again that it's waste, fraud, and abuse. That is also what President Trump and his message delivered to House Republicans yesterday. That's what they're looking to get out of this bill. As you point out, the Rules Committee that started meeting at 1 a.m., still meeting, doesn't have text of what's called a manager's amendment. That means that piece of legislation would include all of the changes that they compromised on when it comes to those Medicaid reforms, when it comes to the clean energy tax credits. Remember, hardliners want those phased out or repealed even faster. Those were signed under the Inflation Reduction Act. But take a listen to two of the members of the House Freedom Caucus and what they laid out here.
I don't think it can be done today. I mean, the runway is short today. The leadership is going to have to figure out, where to go from here.
We're going to work with the president today. We're going to work with our colleagues to deliver. But there's a long way to go. I want to be very clear. We've got to deliver on what we're talking about, or we're not going to be able to get the bill done.
The president, according to a source, running out of patience with the hardliners, also the moderates, as they were demanding changes and lifting and making higher the state and local deductions cap that, of course, was at $10K because of President Trump's initial tax cut bill in 2017. Johnson overnight making an offer, his last best offer, according to sources we spoke to, making that cap at $40K. That now means that hardliners want even more changes, especially when it comes to repealing and phasing out those clean energy tax credits. All in all, though, they will head to the White House this afternoon. Not only members of the House Freedom Caucus, I'm told, but also Speaker Johnson and members of his leadership team to sit down again with the president, see if he can put pressure on them, because there is progress. They are close. Whether they can get it done today, tomorrow, or even into the weekend is still a question mark. But that's the red line that Johnson drew for them, Chris.
So, Brendan, the conservative Republicans, Democrats are outraged that this bill is being pushed without any clarity about what actually is it. Take a listen.
What the hell are you so scared of that you guys are holding this hearing at 1 o'clock in the morning?
We may be here in the dead of night, but you do not need the light of day to smell manure. You can't shovel and call it sugar.
You've been involved in some of these high-stakes negotiating sessions. I mean, maybe not 1 a.m., maybe 1 a.m. They don't have the votes, clearly. What's your gut? Where's this going?
Yeah, I've never seen a Rules Committee hearing, which is basically how you tee up a bill to get a vote, start before a bill is done or before a bill's even done being negotiated. So this is a new one for me. Look, I find this all kind of silly. The Rules Committee hearing aside, I think what's going on here is you have the New York members and the other folks who cared about the state and local tax deduction were playing the role of objectors, and they were driving a hard bargain, and they finally got what they were looking for, which is a higher cap on that state and local tax. But being the roadblock, that's the job of the Freedom Caucus. And so now I think they feel like, hey, wait a minute, that was our block. Now it's our turn to get something out of this. And as Julie said, it's not exactly clear what it is that they're asking for. I think they just want to be in the center of attention. I've always said that the sort of organizing principle of the House Freedom Caucus is just being relevant. Yes, they're conservative, sure, but they just like being in the middle of things. And so I'm sure they're very glad that they now have a meeting at the White House with the president where he can hear them out and maybe they can get some kind of change for themselves. But I think we all know that the contours of where this is going is not changing very much. Everybody needs to kind of say their piece and then they'll figure it out. I do still expect, whether it's today or tomorrow or the next day, they're going to get it done this week because they are very close and there's no real reason not to. And they certainly don't want to have this hanging out over a congressional recess where the members are going to get beat up over it. So they'll figure it out before too long. I just think members need to make themselves relevant again, and then we can move on.
If there is a reason not to accept this or something very close to it, Brendan, it may be this. The U.S. debt is now on pace to set a record that goes back to 1790. And that was even before this large tax and spending bill was taken into account. If Moody's downgrading of the U.S. credit rating wasn't enough to scare fiscal conservatives into putting on the brakes, is a record debt going to do it? Does anybody care about the debt really anymore?
It's a great question. I obviously consider myself a fiscal conservative. I do work with fiscal conservatives. It's something that I think should be core to what the party stands for. Look, Donald Trump isn't one, and I think that's been very clear for a long time. He talks about how we're going to balance the budget, but I'm not sure that he actually cares a whole lot about that. I do want to emphasize something that you said. We have a huge debt problem, not because of this bill or not, whether or not this passes or not. We have a huge debt problem because presidents and Congresses for decades have contributed to it. You would think that a credit downgrading is the type of thing that's going to wake people up, but that doesn't seem like it's really doing anything. This is going to be, I think, something that is going to a cloud that's going to hover over our politics for quite a while. There's no real easy fix to this at this point. We lived in good times for a while, and times where, frankly, if there was a crisis, Congress could step in and pass a bunch of money like we did during COVID. I don't know that we're capable of doing that anymore. When it comes to inflation and bond rates and things like that, we're in a bad place. And so I think people need to pay a lot of attention to this. It's very serious. As I said, it's something that I work on personally. Although I don't think it's going to carry the day here, I think we're heading towards passage sometime soon. And this is what it is.
Mortgage rates just went back up again. I think it's over 7%. Oh, Brendan Bach. Such a pleasure always to talk to you. Julie Sirkin, keep us posted on how things are going. Appreciate you both.